Welcome to the Movie Business Podcast, picking up where Movie Business Book left off. I'm Jason Squire, hosting a wide range of industry talent and executives to answer fundamental questions about the business today. Here we go. And we'll be examining an evolving storytelling platform today with ARON LEVITZ, president of Wattpad WEBTOON Studios, an innovative studio from WEBTOON Entertainment that combines technology, a diverse new generation of creators, and passionate global fans to create data-backed, audience-driven series, films, and books. Wattpad WEBTOON Studios develops content from the WEBTOON and Wattpad platforms, and their global community reaches 170 million users across 150 countries, enjoying the content made by some 24 million creators who have been paid over $2.8 billion between 2017 and 2023. Welcome, ARON.
Susan, thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'm so glad to have you on the Movie Business Podcast. So, ARON, what are the secrets of your storytelling platform?
That's a really good question. I think the secrets, you kind of gave it away there. There's 170 million fans around the world who are aching to see what our creators come up with next, whether it's on WEBTOON or Wattpad. And just so the listeners at home know, WEBTOON is one of the world's leading digital comic platforms. It's really home to some of the biggest and most exciting names in comics right now, but it is a really different experience. It's a vertical scrolling comic experience that was, created for reading on your devices and was really designed for the digital era. Wattpad really similarly is one of the leading web novel platforms. So the idea of how does a novel look when it's created for a digital first generation. And you can go to either to find amazing creators, amazing authors across every genre you can imagine, and dozens that you've never heard of before. So it's really a fan-driven community of some of the most interesting, diverse storytelling in the world.
Now, do these two platforms merge? They started separately? How did that work?
They did. They started quite separately. WEBTOON was born out of the Korean tech giant Naver, while Wattpad started up as a standalone company out of Toronto, Canada, actually. WEBTOON and Naver went on to acquire Wattpad, and it's a pretty simple reason why. We were bigger and faster together. We were both reaching fans around the world in two separate mediums, webcomics and novels. And it was just a really amazing moment to bring creators, content, phenomenal community together and really watch these things grow even faster as a whole. So definitely started separately, but it has been just over about 3 years since the acquisition. We continue to see amazing results from both platforms.
So does this mean that WEBTOON Entertainment combines them both?
It does. WEBTOON Entertainment is the parent that sits over all of us. So whether it's Wattpad, WEBTOON, or the studio, Wattpad WEBTOON Studios that I head up, that's kind of the parent. And it's really about telling stories in a digital age. It's how do we bring fans and creators closer together around stories they love. And that really unites us all as one big, happy storytelling family.
So who are the stars of either of the platforms as you have guided the development of content?
There's some truly epic storytelling happening on these platforms. So whether it's someone like Rachel Smythe, who created Lore Olympus on the WEBTOON platform that has hundreds of millions of reads, or something like Anna Todd on the Wattpad side, who's one of the leading creators on that platform, who's had billions of reads of her story. We're continually seeing these amazing creators, authors, illustrators bring ideas unfettered to audiences. The ability to have democratized them because you can write the story you want has allowed a lot of these amazing creators to become household names in a lot of places. So we've been really fortunate to be able to work with hundreds of them across the studio. But as you said earlier, there's about 24 million creators around the world who are always trying to find the next biggest story to tell our fans.
That's a lot of creators and a lot of fans. This is the magic of the online world, which is, it's just beginning, isn't it? And you've been there, haven't you, at the origins of much of this development?
I would say I've gotten to see a lot of things over my decade working in with these amazing creators. And you kind of touched on it. It's magic. It's this real amazing mix of art and science that lets these creators see the growth that they do, and it lets the studio do things in ways that no other studios can. It's looking at beautiful storytelling, unbelievable plot lines, characters, visuals that are being created out of the minds of our creators, listening to why the fans love things, understanding what drives them. We see that in the comments. We see that sometimes on the Wattpad side down to the paragraph level where our fans are telling us why they love this story, why they love this character, sometimes why they don't love this character. But also the science comes in looking at the data behind these stories, understanding the peaks and valleys from where the fans are engaging with things, understanding trends on a global level that we get to see on genres, on character types. So it really is that beautiful art of mixing, art and science together that lets us look at stories in a very different way than other studios are able.
Wow. So let's dig a little deeper into some hypotheticals. For example, how does a creator get involved?
As we always say, a creator just has to have an idea. We have on both WEBTOON and Wattpad the ability for you to post your story today, Jason. If you have an idea for that first chapter, if you have an idea for that first episode of WEBTOON, you can go on Canvas and upload there. On Wattpad, you go right to the website and start writing today. And what's amazing is it lets creators create not only what they want to create, but for the reasons they want to create. Some creators just have an idea. They just want to see that chapter out there. Their friends want to read it. Other creators start building a story very methodically because they're trying to grow a fandom. Others see a fandom grow so quickly because they've really struck a nerve of something that needs to be told. And because of that, we actually see creators grow from starting on the UGC side through some of our originals programs. So for example, on the WEBTOON side, our originals program is really there where the company itself starts working directly with our creators, where we bring them to the forefront of that platform. Same on the Wattpad side, there's an originals program where we have, it's a little closer to traditional publishing. So we really are creating platforms so our creators can tell the story they want to see. But when the fans start flocking to them, that's when we as companies can really also step in and help grow them a little faster.
It's so interesting because what you say really gives a lot of power to both the creator and the consumer. Let's stay with the creator just for a little longer. How does the creator get paid?
It's a little separate on both platforms. Definitely on the Wattpad side, when you're in that originals program, you are getting paid. WEBTOON same. When you're in originals, you're getting paid. But our model allows people to, our model allows creators to get paid from a few different avenues. It can be through advertising. It can be through paying for the content directly, and definitely through adaptation deals with the studio itself. We just talked about how content works on WEBTOON. Actually, most of the content is free. So Jason, if you or your readers go on today and you want to read a Lore Olympus or you want to read a freaky romance, you can read. Actually, what you end up paying for is to read ahead a little bit. To get behind maybe the door to see a few weeks into the future on content. And a lot of our biggest fans do that, not just because they need to know what's happening next, but because they want to support our creators and they know they make money from that. So it really, we try to create an ecosystem that allows creators to make money and kind of grow their career in the direction that makes most sense for them in areas that they're most excited about. And that's really core to us, right? We want to be a creator first platform, and that means having multiple ways that creators can find success, whether that is monetarily, whether it's through growing stories, or whether it's just being able to tell a great story. And that's really, really important to us.
And are there advisors to help guide creators?
Definitely, as you get into the originals programs on both platforms, there are editorial teams that will work with them, help them understand maybe trends on the platform, help them be a creative sounding board in some cases, help them kind of project manage the work that they're doing. So definitely as you're getting higher up into the originals program, that is when we're interacting directly with creators. On the studio side, of course, if you're in the adaptation process with us, you're either working with my publishing team, from an editorial standpoint, will have creators work with us as we're doing script development to provide notes, ideas, concepts that we can pass on to our phenomenal screenwriting partners. So any creator can come and tell their story, but as you get into the originals, it's when the companies themselves get a little more involved in the storytelling with our creators.
So it seems that the studio side, there is an organization to sort of guide creators if there is real potential towards the wider entertainment ecosystem. So is that the goal for some of your creators?
For some of our creators, definitely. I mean, there's definitely creators who dream of seeing their stories, whether it's on shelves, whether it's on screens, sometimes on T-shirts. And the studio's here to kind of work with those creators to see that come to fruition. And whether it is a publishing deal that goes through, the Wattpad WEBTOON book group, whether it's working with my entertainment group to see film, TV, animation projects, or the merchandising and licensing group that we have as well, we really are there to kind of look at the story, understand what the creator wants from that story, understand where that fits best in the industries right now, and really try to create that adaptation that really helps the story grow to even a bigger fan base, to fan bases who may not have been on the platform. So that is really a key goal for us, is to work with our creators, understand where they see their careers going, and help facilitate that from the adaptation standpoint.
Well, that sounds really great. You're growing from within.
I mean, on both platforms, a vast amount of the content is free to read. It's how most of our first users start. They are told about it by a friend, they're told about a specific story, and they get to start reading. Paid comes in only when you're getting to specific stories in the originals program. Definitely on the WEBTOON side, it's really only the last few episodes that are behind a paywall. Up until that point, our audiences can read for free. And it's those audiences who cannot wait, which a lot of them cannot, to see what's happening a few weeks ahead of time. Or they really want to support the creators and they know this is one way the creators get paid. That's when you have to pay to read on the platform. But other than that, a vast majority of the content on both platforms is free to read for everyone and anyone who can download the app or jump on the website.
And what are the target demographics for either platform?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question, because the demographics on the platform may shift during adaptation. But really, if you look at our platforms, it's millennial, it's Gen Z. I think it's amazing to see that, when I started, it was the millennial generation and Gen Z is coming behind them. Why? Because we know our creators, 170 million of them around the world, are telling stories that are pertinent, topical, interesting, hilarious, escapism, scary, whatever genre that is capturing generation after generation now. But when we look at the adaptation side, we know that the story has to change from visuals in a digital comic to a screen. We know that the story will change from words on Wattpad to when we publish it as a book. And we can really look at the core of that and say, hey, look, is this something we can age up a little bit? Is this something that has to exist in the universe that it was written in? And we do that with the fans in mind. Like, what are the fans looking for? Are the fans looking for a different piece of storytelling to be told from this? Do our creators want to see us adapt things in a slightly different way? And so we get to use all these phenomenal inputs that so many studios do not have access to, let alone the vast amount of IP that we have access to through our wonderful creators, that really let us kind of customize each project for where it will sit, not just from the platform to adaptation, but when then it sits in the industry. What's working in film today? What's working in animation today? Should this be a series? Should it be feature length? What platforms does it work best on? And so we really are always thinking how we can, take that mix of art and science, the data and beautiful storytelling, and find those pieces of kind of insight to help us better adapt projects to screens and shelves all over the world.
And let me ask, how do you get feedback from the audience?
What's beautiful about these platforms, and when I say, a novel, a web novel platform, a web comic platform, a digital comic platform, I think a lot of listeners are now thinking, okay, well, I read comics at one point in my life, and I remember going and I would buy a floppy, or I still go buy a graphic novel today and I read it and I love it. And if I really love it, maybe I'll leave a Goodreads post or an Amazon review. That's not what's happening on our platforms. Our platforms give a real true moment for creators to engage with their audience. So on WEBTOON, at the end of every episode, there can be hundreds, if not thousands, of comments. On Wattpad, literally our fans can comment down to a paragraph level. They can select this paragraph and tell us what they love, what they didn't love, what questions for our creators. And on top of that, our creators re-engage with the audience. They'll answer questions, not just on our platform, but on other digital platforms. And that moment of engagement gives us so much insight into what drives the fandom around these stories that it really is almost an X-ray into understanding how and why this story is important to people. And that's one of the really, really kind of interesting and different ways that we get to interact with story as a studio that other studios really don't.
Finally, can I ask, where's the business heading? What's your prognosis?
I think, the studio, we're definitely focused on seeing more and more stories come to screens and shelves all over the world. For example, we have a movie coming out based on a Wattpad story called Boot Camp later this summer on August 2nd. It's going to come out on demand. We just wrapped a movie called Sidelined, QB and me. We have one of the biggest TikTok influencers, Noah Beck, starring in it. It's a feature and it'll debut with Tubi. So we're really excited to see more and more of our stories come to fruition. Things like Lore Olympus, it's a 5-time bestseller, New York Times bestseller, one of the most loved comics in the world, and we're in development with the Henson Company on that one. We have Death of a Pop Star with Diablo Cody producing with us. So we're really excited to see where these stories are going and work with our creators to have them entertain a whole new group of fans, as well as entertain the ones that got them to the place they are today.
Well, this has been a fascinating episode and so enlightening. You've created a remarkable ecosystem. ARON LEVITZ, president of Wattpad WEBTOON Studios. ARON, thanks so much for being a guest on the Movie Business Podcast. Thank you.
Again, thank you so much for having me, Jason. Really appreciate it.